Aileen Carol Wuornos was one of America's most infamous female serial killers, known for killing 7 men between 1989 and 1990 in Florida. Her life story is a complex mix of childhood trauma, crime, and mental illness. Here's a detailed look at her life and the series of events that led to her notoriety. Early life. Aileen Wuornos was born on February 29, 1956, in Rochester, Michigan. Her early life was troubled from the start. Her father, Leo Dale Pittman, was a convicted child molester who spent much of his life in prison before committing suicide in 1969. Her mother, Diane Wuornos, abandoned Aileen and her brother when Aileen was only 4 years old. Aileen and her brother were raised by their maternal grandparents, who were reportedly abusive. By the age of 11, Aileen had begun engaging in sex work at her school, trading sexual favors for cigarettes, food, and drugs. She also experienced sexual abuse from her grandfather, which left lasting trauma. At the age of 14, she became pregnant after being raped by one of her grandfather's friends. The baby was given up for adoption, and soon after, Aileen was expelled from her home. She began living in the woods and hitchhiking, marking the start of her troubled adult life. Life of crime Wuornos drifted around the country as a teenager, surviving through petty crime, prostitution, and theft. By her early 20s, she had numerous run-ins with the law, including charges of DUI, disorderly conduct, and firing a gun from a moving vehicle. Aileen spent time in jail for multiple offenses, and her criminal record kept growing. In 1976, Wuornos briefly married a 69-year-old wealthy man named Louis Gratz Fell. However, their marriage quickly fell apart due to her violent behavior. Fell filed for a restraining order, and the marriage was annulled within a few months. Her relationships were tumultuous, and she was often involved in altercations. However, one of her significant relationships was with Tyria Moore, a hotel maid whom Wuornos met in Daytona Beach in 1986. The two women began a romantic relationship, which lasted throughout much of Wuornos's crime spree, murders between 1989 and 1990. Aileen Wuornos embarked on a killing spree that claimed the lives of 7 men. She shot and killed the men, claiming that they had either raped her or attempted to do so while she was working as a prostitute. The victims were Richard Mallory, 51, killed on November 30th, 1989. Mallory was a convicted rapist, and Wuornos claimed she killed him in self-defense. This was the first murder, and Mallory's death set the stage for the rest of her killings. David Spears, 43, killed on May 19, 1990. His naked body was found along a highway, shot 6 times. Charles Carskadden, 40, killed on May 31, 1990. He was shot 9 times, and his body was found in Pasco County. Peter Seams, 65, last seen on June 7, 1990. His car was found abandoned, but his body was never recovered. Wuornos and Moore were seen driving his car, and their fingerprints were found inside. Troy Burris, 50, killed on July 31, 1990. His body was found in a wooded area after being shot twice. Charles Humphreys, 56, killed on September 11, 1990. He was a retired Air Force major and former police officer, shot 6 times. Walter Antonio, 62, killed on November 19, 1990. He was found nearly naked, shot 4 times. Wuornos was eventually arrested on January 9, 1991, at a bar in Port Orange, Florida. The police tracked her down by tracing pawned items that belonged to some of her victims and through eyewitness accounts. Tyria Moore, fearing arrest, cooperated with the police and helped gather a confession from Wuornos. Trial and conviction. Aileen Wuornos was charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder. In 1992, she was convicted of the murder of Richard Mallory. During the trial, Wuornos claimed self-defense, stating that Mallory had tried to rape her, which forced her to shoot him. However, the jury found her guilty, and she was sentenced to death. Over the following months, she was convicted of several other murders, and her death sentence was upheld. Wuornos's mental health became a focal point during her legal proceedings. She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, but the court found her competent to stand trial. Imprisonment and execution. While on death row, Aileen Wuornos gave several interviews, including one to filmmaker Nick Broomfield, which became the basis for 2 documentaries about her life. In her interviews, Wuornos exhibited erratic behavior, claiming she had been manipulated by law enforcement to confess to the murders. She also expressed paranoia, stating that she believed the prison was abusing her. Despite appeals and attempts to argue her mental instability, Wuornos repeatedly asked to be executed, claiming she no longer wanted to live. She stated that her murders were premeditated and that her earlier claims of self-defense were fabricated. On October 9, 2002, at the age of 46, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. Before her execution, she declined her last meal, asking only for a cup of coffee. Her final words were, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus. June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all, I'll be back." Legacy and cultural impact. Aileen Wuornos' life and crimes have been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films. Perhaps the most well-known depiction of her life came in the 2003 film Monster, in which Charlize Theron portrayed Wuornos. Theron's performance earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress. Wuornos' case sparked debate about mental health, the treatment of women in the criminal justice system, and the question of whether she was a cold-blooded killer or a woman driven to murder by years of abuse and trauma. Aileen Wuornos remains one of the most infamous female serial killers in American history, and her story continues to captivate and horrify people to this day. Thanks you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more crime stories, don't forget, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.